Hello, we are the Salon Sleuths. My name is Melissa,
And my name is Leslie.
and we are two women from the Pacific Northwest. We are both curious about paranormals, spirit guides, ghosts, past lives.
We are suspicious about true crime, disappearances, and strange phenomenons. We are open to learning about the supernatural and all things we don't understand.
Together, we're opinionated with a splash of smartass. Join us to learn. And stay curious, stay suspicious, and stay open.
Follow Salon Sleuths on all major podcast platforms.
Hello, today I'm going to be talking to you about the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. Many of you know the story as the Delphi Murders, and I'm just going to do a quick overview only because this case has been out in the media for since it happened in 2017, and most of you are familiar. If you're not, this is just going to be a quick overview. I was contacted by a gentleman who believes that his father was the Delphi murderer, and I want to give him a voice. His father is not one of the ones that are listed as persons of interest. I just wanted you guys to hear what he has to say. I don't know why anybody would claim this unless it was true or unless they really believed it to be true. So I wanted to give this man, Shawn, a voice. So the story is on February 13th. This was a Monday at 1:35. Abigail and Liberty went for a hike. The older sister of Liberty, which is Libby, the older sister Kelsey dropped them off at the road, the country road 300 north on Hoosier Heartland Highway. And the girls went hiking on the Monon High Bridge over Deer Creek. Now, at about 2:07, Libby posted a picture of Abby walking across the bridge, and this was the last time the girls were heard from. Liberty's father was going to be picking them up at 3:15, and the girls failed to show up. And he waited a little bit. They started to look around. They ended up filing a missing persons report about 5:30, where police came in and they took a look. They didn't really worry too much about them. They thought they would show up, and by evening it was clear that they weren't going to. Now, I read this somewhere, and I don't know exactly where I saw this, but I read, I believe that one of the girls' phones pinged at 2:30 in the morning, which then the police went back out to the bridge to try to find them, and they were not successful. And it looks like at noon the following day, which would have been Valentine's Day 2017, the girls' bodies were found a half a mile from the abandoned Monon High Bridge, and they were on the north bank of Deer Creek. Now, it appears that they were able to find the phone, at least one of them from the girls, and they're on the phone. There's a video of a man who was pictured on the bridge with these girls, and there's a short video. I think the police have posted just stills of this man, and there's also an audio clip, and you hear the man say "down the hill," and that is the last thing that they know about this person. And so right now, that man on the bridge is the person of interest, and they are looking for anybody who recognizes him or recognizes the voice, which, by the way, this man who has contacted me claims both of those things, that he knew that voice the minute he heard it, and he also recognized him as having those items that you've seen in the pictures. So I wanted to give some insight for that. There were a few people that were listed as persons of interest. However, this man that is claiming it's his father is not on this list. And I don't know why, or maybe, I mean, I have no idea where they stand on any of this, but the persons of interest so far have been Paul Etter, Daniel Nations, Thomas Bruce, Charles Eldridge, and James Brian Chadwell. Those are the people who have been listed as persons of interest. I believe at least one of them has passed away due to suicide, and that would be Paul Etter. I am not certain about the others, but today I do want to be talking to you with Shawn Harmon, who wants to be talking about his father. Before we get into Shawn's interview, I did call my friend Jeanette Lucas, who happens to be a psychic medium. She helps people find missing people, missing objects. So I called her while I was waiting to get a hold of Shawn, and I just gave her some information, and this is what she had come up with.
You're on my podcast. I'm recording you on my podcast right now. What did you say that the impression you got when I gave you?
Okay, so the first thing I saw was a woman, and I see down. So down is normally meaning not north, not west, not east, but south. So that means they're going to go south. And then it also shows a woman who has, I want to lean toward the word criminal intent or manipulation. And so my feeling was going astray because of a woman. And you have to look at it like, okay, so what's the next question? So from Indiana, and I just heard the word South Bend. It could be in South Bend. Do you know what part of Indiana?
Not exactly. I'm about to get on the phone with him to get more information.
And who's him? The guy, the husband?
So the one I'm going to be interviewing, his name is Shawn Harmon, and his father is Dennis.
Okay.
And I was just wondering, I'm going to be interviewing Shawn, and I was just wondering if I gave you those names, if you had anything that came to you because you're psychic, I thought maybe if you had something that came to your mind when I gave you those names.
Normally when I see some kind of weird criminal intent or manipulation, it's something very convoluted. So that means somebody's lying, somebody else is lying, and somebody's lying to hide the truth.
Okay.
So are you talking to the father, Shawn the father?
This is the son.
And the father is, I'm sorry, I'm driving, so I have to rethink the whole thing.
And the father is Dennis.
Okay, so the father, Dennis, is the one acting weird?
Well, the son believes the father has committed a heinous crime involving 2 young girls.
Okay, were they blonde?
I would have to go back and look, but interesting enough, there was a recording of this man with these girls, and he says down the hill, and you said down. So I didn't know if that was connected or if that was literal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the key factor is the son is very suspicious, but here's the thing. How old is the son?
The son is probably in his.
So is he thinking cold case?
It's not cold. It's just, let me try to figure out when this actually happened really quick. This all happened in 2017. So it's kind of cold.
So you're not saying about those 2 girls, with those 2 teenagers, were you?
Yeah. So this guy believes, this guy I'm about to interview believes his father is the murderer of those 2 girls.
Well, after the visions I just got, he's not alone, if that makes sense. Or either there's something going on with him and another woman. So ask, where's the mom?
I don't believe they've been together for a very long time.
Ask if he's got a girlfriend.
Okay.
That situation is very important. It could be. I was reading up on the cop who raped women in California.
Yeah.
And the only reason he said he raped and murdered them is he blamed his ex-girlfriend for not wanting sex.
Okay.
And he actually, when he was raping them, he would call them the name. So let's say the girl's name was Denise, so he would say, "I hate you, Denise. I hate you."
Right. Okay.
You see where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
They just can't shut their pie hole. They just can't.
Do you think? Did you get a hit from the son or from the father?
No, there's no framing. There's definitely some kind of criminal intent going on here.
Okay.
And it could be he's mad at his ex-wife. It could be he's mad at his ex-girlfriend, and he sees the crime of opportunity. It could be they have the same hair coloring or the same look. So you need to see, what does the mom look like, and what do the girls resemble a girlfriend of his, the father's? Do I feel like he's setting him up? I'm going to say no.
Okay.
Okay, and then all you have to do is ask Shawn, again, who, what, when, where, house. Okay, so how far away did the father live from the crime scene?
Well, I was just trying to see if he is of right mind first, like, because he's all over the place. His Facebook page is kind of scary. It's all over. And I just.
It could be Shawn. First, I want you to find out if Shawn is just so scared. What made him come forward? Okay.
Well, this is what he said. He said as soon as he saw that video and that he heard that man's voice, he knew it was his dad. And he has not been in contact with his dad for a very long time. So he doesn't, yeah.
Okay, so the second thing is, all right, so we know why he does, okay, so you need to ask him, do you feel safe?
Okay.
Because you want to tell him, with me, you are safe.
Okay.
I want you to relax. I know it's hard to deal with. Whether it's true or not, I'm going to walk you through it. I'm going to be there for you. And
yeah,
I would call the cops.
Okay.
But yeah, let's see how Shawn talks.
Okay.
And but I'm trying to pick up on Shawn. Shawn is being shown wearing a blackness, which means fear factor. You know what? Ask Shawn if he has any other siblings that think that that's their dad too.
Okay.
Or any cousins, or does dad have a relative that recognizes that articulation?
Okay.
Because you could break it down, you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
And I do know a guy who's a PI who could possibly get involved and help out. He's retired.
Well, this guy, he's very active, like all over trying to, I mean, he's not quiet about naming his dad as this thing. And so I was like, the police have had to have looked into him, or they just don't think that Shawn's credible because he's all over the place and kind of crazy.
Well, there's several factors. Shawn could be a druggie, and he is taking more drugs to deal with it because he's freaked out about it. I mean, you're talking murder.
Yeah.
You're talking children. And of course, it's like a double indemnity when you kill children. It just makes you want to puke.
Yeah.
I mean, murdering itself is bad enough, but when you say, oh, he raped and murdered these girls,
Yeah.
you hang in there and let's see what happens.
Okay. All right.
I mean, yeah, go interview Shawn. Let me know. If you need me, call me.
Okay. All right.
Or text me too, whatever you need.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
So before I waste any more time, we're going to go straight to that interview. Thank you.
Can you see me?
I can see you. All right.
What's your name?
I'm Leslie.
Leslie Shawn.
Yes. Hi, Shawn. Nice to meet you.
You too.
And so who's this other phone number you gave me?
That's my friend Nancy that I live with.
Does she want to join us
lived with.
from her phone?
To watch or to talk?
Either one.
Oh, she can watch from her phone if she wants.
Yeah.
So how does she do that?
So I texted her the link, and all she has to do is click on it, and then I'll accept her to come in.
Okay.
So is this the house that you're staying at her house with her?
Well, I got my own place, but I stay here to, calm down and stay out of the mix, of everything. If I'm by myself, it gets to me about all the lot to go through with all this,
Do you have your own place?
Yes.
Okay, but you feel like there's a lot of stress over there, so you'd like to hang out with Nancy?
Well, I do come over here so I can, have someone to talk to about this, someone close, that way I ain't sitting by myself. I was homeless for 13 years. So it's like,
yeah,
I'm just now this past year, whenever I found this out, I just started, getting things together and opening up again, because when you're homeless, it's like, you don't want to be around people, but you are, and you just kind of break down.
Yeah. Well, you're all clean and sober now, right?
Yeah. Well, I smoke weed.
Okay. Well, everybody does, but I want to say that I'm proud of you. That's a huge step. And I think, it's probably led to you actually getting your new place and, moving on with your life. And I always say, like, what you've dealt with in the past has been very hard, but it doesn't define who you are as a person. And from this day forward, you are just plugging away, becoming a better person. So thank you
Yeah,
for
I'm
being
not
on
a
the show.
victim. Thank
No,
you.
well, same with me. Like I grew up in this crazy world, and I think I spent a lot of my time blaming my parents when honestly, I'm in charge of who I am as a person. And it would be easy to blame somebody else for all my mistakes and everything. But ultimately, it was me that made those choices. So now it's like, okay, moving on. Like, what do I do from here? So, and I know that I watched the other podcasts or a majority of the other podcasts, and he really went into your past. And I think he
Anthony
was
Greeno.
I think it was the one that you posted on your YouTube page, and it was like over an hour long. It was pretty long, but he
Yeah, that
really
was
went into
Anthony.
your past. And I realized that is important, but I also don't know if it's super important to what your message is and what you're trying to tell people. And I think the biggest part was he tried to like trip you up and try to catch you in lies. And the one thing that you never did was lie. And that
Yeah.
you were very honest with him, and even when he tried to, it didn't. You stuck to the truth, and that's one thing that I noticed in that interview. And so, and the other thing that really stuck out to me is he said, like, when did you realize that this person in the video or the photo was your dad? And you said, because I recognize him and I heard his voice, and you knew at that moment that that was your father.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's very telling. And it's hard to tell from that picture how old that person actually is. But like, describe to me when you first saw it, what did you see about that picture other than, like, I guess if I see a picture of my dad, I just know it's my dad. But were there anything specifically about that picture that you knew that you can tell me that was your dad for sure?
Well, what had happened is I got clean and sober last February, and then it was on February the 6th, and then this February the 3rd, I had been talking to my friend Nancy that helped me get off the street. Let me come and take showers, do my clothes. I'm just doing a little quick back, and she had let me, come here after rehab last year. And so last summer, I was going through trying to get a hold of my son, which is the younger composite sketch. And I went through Dennis's Facebook page because he's passed away now. Bridge Guy's dead. He died May the 13th,
Oh,
2021. Dennis
okay.
Harmon. And
So that was your father. He's already passed away.
yeah, Bridge Guy,
Okay.
if what they're saying about the person on the bridge and the voice, then that's Dennis. I know he's the one that's on the bridge.
Okay.
And I had seen his post and just passed over his post and stuff, and I'd seen things about little kids missing, like the girls, but I didn't pay no attention last summer. And so I just, and I tried getting with my son, and then right before I found us out in like November, he said, well, you got to get a drug test, because Dennis raised my son, and got my son away from me, with the welfare, because I talked about the welfare and the people he knows. And so this this year I got my dog's ashes that I was homeless with finally back. And then right after that, the year was going good. And then I found this out February the 3rd, and I was going to try to get a hold of my dad, say, hey, I want to speak to my son. I mean, you put me through hell and abused and kidnapped us as a kid. I got pictures of black eyes on my Facebook, and I've sent you, you know, and I saw the video, and Nancy had said something about last year whenever I had gotten off the straight and off of heroin for 13 years, and off of heroin for 6. I didn't start doing deep drugs until 32, I think, when my son turned 18. I had waited for that day and been homeless for 4 or 5 years before that. And I tried committing suicide and went to stay with him. And Dennis, I told his wife that, he molested my sister and abused us. And she said, I didn't know what I had until I, got him home. The monster, basically is what she said. And then 2 days later, Dennis tried taking me out shooting a gun. Within a week, I was dropped off, but I said, I don't want to go out and shoot the gun. And because Dylan walked out at the right time, maybe because he's deadly, but I ain't afraid of him. But anyway, he wanted me to he's been wanting me for years to get my mail to stop coming from his house. But whenever I'm homeless, I have nowhere for it to go.
Right.
So just like this white bandana, he don't like me wearing a white bandana. So I would do it on purpose. And I seen the video again, you know, and I was trying to get in touch with him because Dylan text saying you got to get drug tested before I'm gonna have anything to do with you. I'm 46 years old. You're 24. You don't tell me what to do. And I kind
Yeah.
of, you know, got a little ticked off. And then so it made me start looking into what really Dennis does in post. And I seen that he was a military police officer and that he worked on railroads in South Bend, Indiana. And then I seen that video and I was like, that's him walking across the bridge. And I'm like, instantly I knew him. I knew his hunch. I knew his nose, his hair,
Okay, wait,
his
I got to tell you
biggie.
something really quick, if you don't mind. I'm going to just stop you because this is really weird. Before we connected just now on the phone, I have a friend who I had met just through doing the podcast, and she is a psychic. She actually finds missing people, but I said, I'm going to send you two names and I want you to tell me what comes to your mind. And I didn't even get her name sent out to you, right? Or out to her. And these are the three words that she says to me, or the four words. She says the word down. She says there's a woman connection. And she said South Bend. And when you just said that, that actually just gave me chills. So I want to go back. So your
Yeah,
son
it's
right now,
very, it does that to me too,
yeah.
because
So
I'm very spiritual, you know.
yeah. Well, and I imagine so after like going through what you did, there is sort of probably a little awakening within you.
Okay.
I want to ask you, so your son right now is 24 years old, but
Yeah.
your
One of
father,
my sons.
Dennis, he is passed away, right? Is
Yeah.
he still living where your dad lived?
I'm not sure. I got two sons that might be
Okay.
involved. And my
What
youngest,
is, yeah, what is your youngest? What's his age?
Gavin Gross, he's 19. And
Um,
Dylan Harmon
you
is 24.
you think your sons could be involved in that? You don't think it was something
Well,
that your dad would have
I
done
don't
on his
know
own?
because there's things within our family that I've found out through DNA and through who I've spoken to that I won't speak about because they was adopted and stuff. And he told me that his mom came, that one of their two kids came from a rape and that she had to flee to New York, Rochester or something from my grandfather, Kenneth Sr. They came from Mormons and the Harmons turned it into something sicker. And so I got Roger Allen Jess, that supposedly is in prison for my uncle's murder 5 days before I was born, Jeffrey Allen Harmon. And they tried breaking him out of prison like 10 commandos. They was going to blow up a hospital and a daycare and break this guy out. A big sting was done with the FBI. And he talked about syndication and organization, a syndicate. And I don't know if it's the Kingston family order that they talk about on escaping polygamy. That's what my family came from.
Okay.
And I just found a lot of this out. So Dennis and who he knew, you know, I don't know who he knew, who he knows, but I don't want to piss anybody off either, you know.
What was Dennis's wife's name, and were they married up until he died?
His fifth wife was Belinda that he passed away in May. She was Belinda Harmon. She's from down by Georgetown, Indiana too. That she's still
Okay.
at the house, I guess. But
And
she
then
says she
what date did your father die?
May 13th, lucky number 13 for him
Of
because
2021? Do you know what he
yeah,
passed away from?
no, no one will tell
Okay.
me anything.
Okay.
But it's odd that I've like I was saying, I got off track and I'll do that, you know.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm like a woman. I talk about 10 different things. That ain't a bad thing for all you
Yeah.
politically incorrect. It's just I got more going on in my head
Hey,
than
I'm
most.
AD. I can keep up with you. It's okay.
And so it's like I was scrolling down and I seen the video and I said, "Oh my God." And she said, "That's a video I told you about after your dad called and told me to tell you not to have your mail coming to the house because I didn't care. He took my son, moved away from me, got my son from the welfare with people.
Okay,
The
wait one
cold
second. Shawn, who said that's the video I told you about? Was that Nancy?
Nancy. Yeah,
Okay.
she had seen
Now,
it before.
did Nancy know your father?
Mm-mm,
No, okay.
no.
Has anybody else?
He talked to her one time on the phone, telling her last summer, whenever he found out that she wasn't just some person off the street. She's an adult. She just retired from LG&E. She has an establishment, a home, and talks. And he couldn't. She's a little smarter than some of these girls that he talked to when I dated in my
Yeah.
20s and 30s that he manipulated and coerced into doing things with them and their kids, probably because he was very manipulative. He was a
Yeah.
disc jockey and ventriloquist and traveled everywhere. He was a military police officer. I didn't know that. And he was a sharpshooter. He worked for South Bend Railroad. And I'm like, oh my God, this is my father walking across. And so I instantly called him and said, you mother, blah, 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 and I'm calling the police. And
So,
so I
okay,
called the
you
FBI.
told your dad that you were calling the police on him.
I said, I'm coming after you, you son of a, and I said, I'm
Okay.
coming, buddy.
And then what
And I
did he say
called.
to that?
I texted him. I meant,
Okay.
that's what I meant to
He
say.
never
'Cause
responded. He
I
never
didn't
said
call him.
anything.
I didn't want to
Okay.
talk to him at that point in time. I don't even know if I tried calling him because I texted him whenever I was on Facebook and I didn't have time to call. I texted him and said, I'm coming for you. You better watch out. You know what you did and all this stuff, taking my son. And now I find this out. And the worst thing I ever did back then was smoke pot. And you want to say that I'm a bad parent. But like I said, he had so much ties with VFW to Marine Corps leagues to corporations and doing weddings and parties and satanic bull crap or whatever he's into, because he's into something dark.
Now,
Or he
Shawn,
might just be a manipulator and uses everybody to do these things and set them up. I think, yes, my sons were involved. I think the person at the CPS building was my son, and somebody walked up to that car, I heard, because I found all this out within 6 months now, since February the 3rd. And the cops came down here and got a link to his Facebook and got everything he had at that point in time, hopefully, before he, deleted stuff. And so I called the FBI in Carroll County and they just wouldn't call back and stuff. And so then he started posting on Facebook about, like, I'm just on drugs. Here we go again. Shawn's back to doing his thing, saying this and that. I got him, from his mom. I don't know how he got me from my mom, but I do, because he knew the main person at the welfare department and the judges, and they all drank right there at the Golden Nugget in Richmond, where he DJ'd every Thursday to Saturday. And then he would DJ at other parties and drive with me 100 miles an hour back and forth. And I've said that he's burned cars. I believe he's been doing the Ypsilanti murders and the Alphabet murders because my grandfather, Kenneth Harmon Sr., he was from Sacramento, California, born there, and moved to Sacramento or moved to Rochester, New York. And the person I found through my DNA that said his mom, was raped by one of the Kenny brothers, Glenn, that my father and his brothers traveled to Sacramento and to Rochester, where the Alphabet murders also happened. And the Ypsilanti, Michigan murders, there's the pulling up over the shirt, over the head, things stuck into the women after they, or whenever, and that the body placement and stuff. There's just so much stuff that I found out since Anthony Greeno's show. And for them to shut down and talk about the next week after I give him 23,000 views, I'm not in it for the views, but I want my voice to be heard. And I wasn't, as a kid, saying he was this and that and a child molester, and, because he was honorably discharged for a hernia operation or something. He lied about that to get back on disability and get his pay higher. He would do insurance jobs, burn cars out in the backyard. I was with him one time whenever he burned a car, and I've talked to the law enforcement about that too, about what I could be in trouble for being there, So it's like I'm honest with everything about my own self and on my YouTube videos and stuff. So he basically was like, I'm just lying, and he lied to my son the whole time of his life, telling him that me and his mom, Christy Johnson, left him in an alleyway. And so it's like Dylan, I didn't get in touch with Dylan until not too long ago, whenever he admitted on text. I've got him so mad, and I got other people mad within my family that let a little bit too much out about the Masons and about other things. But Dylan said, "Okay, we was there," because I showed a side by side that I even gave you of Dylan in a pink shirt, and then I got him in a blue shirt, and how he's standing, his hair, how he looks like this out under his glasses and stuff. I would know my own son, even though I ain't seen him since 2013. That's the last time I've seen him face to face, and that was graduation. So sorry, I put a
That's
lot of
okay.
information.
I was trying to figure out how he died. It
I
doesn't
know, I
really
don't know.
say anything.
It's
I would
odd
be
that.
like, it'd be interesting if he committed suicide.
Well, that's
I would
what
think,
someone else said too, because I'm trying to get a lawyer for the probate of his property too, because there's things within his estate that should be mine.
yeah.
And I'm the one I wasn't a victim. I was a victim up until the point I found out. I felt like a victim in life. And I was. Most people ain't. I might say, I've had a hard life. Well, I've had a hard life. I've lived through a serial killer's house. So whenever people come at me, I sometimes say things and do things on here that go against the norm, but I've been homeless for 13 years, and I don't live by the standards of a cell phone, internet, and doing day-to-day activities and having the comfort of your four walls and your door to lock at night. I didn't have that, and people walking up on me out on the middle of the street and telling me who I am. And that's why I'm like up in your face and stuff whenever you say something on the internet. I'm on here text war screaming at the phone, and Nancy's like, "Oh my god," and so
Yeah.
I get kicked off of Facebook and stuff because I'm not narcissistic. I'm passionate about it because my son's involved. I don't want my son to get the death penalty, but he should pay for if he truly participated willingly. I
Can
don't
I
know.
let me ask you a few things, Shawn?
Yeah,
Does anybody else in your family agree with you that the picture and the voice sounds like your father? Anybody that you know?
nobody would say. They're
Okay,
too
nobody.
afraid.
Okay, and then here's this other question would be, um, okay, probably because of how you were raised and the trauma
I've
that
had
you,
other people. I've got other people that know that it's him. That I know from just that know Dennis. I know people from
okay,
my
so
hometown.
maybe people
I
that aren't
can't name them.
related to you, people that aren't
No,
related, but
nobody
people that knew
related will say nothing.
okay, but other
Those-
people that knew him will say, yes,
Yeah,
that does sound and look
yeah.
like him. And then
Oh, they.
you did mention something about, you saw the jacket that he was wearing, that he had one of those.
Oh, yeah. That's one of his signatures is the blue windbreaker and scarf. And another thing I found was on 4490 Pleasure Ridge Road, southeast in Corydon, Indiana. If you go look at the sale of that property, you will see the hoodie he wore in the murders 5 years after the sale of that house, because this was around 2013, the Evansdale time. He moves after murders. He moved from Corydon, Indiana at the 4490 Pleasure Ridge Road Southeast, 47112, I think. And he moved from there after the Evansdale murders, and he moved to Huntstonville, Kentucky at 1730 Liberty Loop Road. Yeah. And I don't know. I never lived there. I only remember the Corydon address. And then after the Delphi murders, he moved from Huntstonville, Kentucky, to his residence he lived in until he died, which was on 6460 or 6490 Forest Grove, Northeast Road. And So that's like Richmond, Indiana. He moved after the Nikki McGowan, and I mean, I'm not saying that that one's him, but I mean, he posted stuff about Evansdale girls, and he posted about his own murders, and posted something on his Facebook about it, and about the reward thing. You know how they showed the reward of 225,000. Let's get this guy out here. I just found this and all blah blah blah. He likes posting pictures of, he took pictures of us when he kidnapped us. I sent you pictures of Black Eyes. That's when he took us to Fairfax and stole my two older sisters. And I don't remember if he stole my sister from my mom. Probably did.
Do you know if they've tested his DNA?
Well, I talked to Indiana State Police Officer Harper, and I've got all I like saying this so they know, and so people know. I do take pictures every time they block, every time on the podcast, and I keep pictures of whenever I call the police and FBI, and he told me a week or so, maybe a week and a half before he was cremated, that he this is how he said it. He said they was supposed to go down there and get it. Whether that means that they went down there and got it, they should have, because just the day before, Iowa finally called me back the next day after I called Evansdale, and it was in May. I waited a while to call other agencies and stuff until I got enough people, to look at me and say, hey, we need to look at this guy, because no one ever listened to me as a kid. And for a long time on here, I thought, it's going to be a hell of a job. And it is, but people don't understand what's going on with law enforcement. And I have the view of what's really going on with that, and no
Okay, wait.
one's
So
getting.
Shawn,
Oh,
as far
oh.
as you know, they did not test his DNA.
They said that they was going to get it.
Okay.
Now,
But you
whether
don't know for sure if they did. Okay. Then did they test yours too? Because the only reason why I'm saying that is where they can link it to your dad. It won't be a direct hit with yours, but even if your dad's not here and he is cremated, have they taken yours?
I've linked mine up to the GED match database. Yeah.
Okay.
I've been
Okay.
talking to Roger Curtis, or Curtis Rogers, to put my link into the database, so they should have it. But see, what you got to do is give your number to Carroll County and to all these other places. I put it out on some of my YouTube and Facebook. I don't care about putting out my pass. I didn't put out my passcode and stuff, but I put the link that if any organization wants to download that to their database or their files to see if he might be linked, they should be able to do that now.
It just seems like it would be so easy for them just to rule out your dad.
Yeah.
Like just test it and be let's move on. So
let's be done.
Yeah.
But see, we don't know also if his DNA is the one that's on there. Somebody could have walked up and touched one of the girls when they found him. There could have been somebody touched their shirt. So we don't know what DNA. They only have 9 points or so, and they need like 12 points on a certain scale to, segments. Yeah. So there's only so many segments that they say that they have. I don't know if that's true. So
yeah.
I don't know the logistics, but there was a Rockney Harmon that dealt with the OJ case and the Golden State Killer in Sacramento. Maybe my father knows the Golden State Killer guy, because they're about the same age. And my grandfather lived in Sacramento, and my dad went out there with his brothers, and there's alphabet murder killings of little kids with double letters like Abby, Libby, double B's, Collins, LL, Cook, OO. Then
that would just be a huge coincidence. I also want to ask you that picture that's in, the one that we see.
Oh, with him?
It looks like he's got is it a fanny pack? What do you think that is? Like underneath his jacket?
That's the maroon shirt. If you look at the 4490 Pleasure Ridge Road Southeast sale of that house, he shows photos of inside the house, and you can see the hat that he wore in the murder.
That is a shirt. It's not
I'm talking about the shirt too in that room. I'm talking about the room It's not a fanny pack. It's a maroon shirt that you will see in that room. There's also lumps from that property out in this property where it looks like overturned dirt. And I've talked to Officer Chris Burke in Harrison County, Indiana. They won't call me back. Harrison County, some dispatcher woman, and I'm being nice whenever I'm talking about her. She hangs up on me every time I call, except until I started telling them I'm recording this, but I wasn't recording. But
I don't
they
know
don't
if
have
I
to know
have a
this.
picture of that house, the 4490.
You got to Google 4490 Pleasure
Okay.
Ridge Road.
Let me do that really quick while you're
It's the
here.
realtor's sell of the house. In that house, you'll see the hoodie he was wearing, the maroon shirt, and if you zoom in on the shirt, I've showed that there's blood all over that shirt. He's been wearing those clothes for years. And then I showed that picture of a kid. There's a bigger, wider picture of a guy at Connie Cope, Koepke, my aunt Harmon, Connie Cope Harmon, that is his sister that lives in the Port Michigan City where Linda Weldy was murdered along railroad tracks in his hometown, the same town that my uncle Jeffrey Allen Harmon was murdered in the woods and was found in a blue coat. Roger Allen Jass talks about an organization. I've heard about an organization in with the Kingston family that I'm related to by DNA, GED match database. And there's so much that I found out, that I'm like, I don't know what the hell he's involved. It's called the Order. The Kingstons are, but Dennis could have become and went off branch. The blue coat is there's a picture of him with a redheaded girl. Odd that Abby was a redhead. Linda Weldy's house now is a VFW. Dennis is a member of VFW and Masons and Eagles and Druids. He's with everybody. He was in the Marines, so he used those things to help him DJ in another town and meet someone. Because when you're a DJ, you're the life of the party. You're like the bartender. She knows
Right.
everybody in the bar. She's the smartest person. Well, DJ like him, he would ventriloquist. He would take the dummy's head off and stuff to scare kids and stuff.
Yeah.
He was very methodical and he was very authoritative. So whenever I heard his voice, I was like, I hear him say, "Guys, go down the hill. Guys, go down the hill." Very affirmative. He's very his level is very strict and precise, and then down. Like, okay, that's why. But I know what he's thinking. I know how he thinks. I lived with him. I didn't turn into him, and he tried to mold me, I think, into ways where at a young age I was like, no. At 6 and 7, I should not be having sex, and my sister shouldn't be messing with me. And I've said all this because it gives back story to who he is. And there's even farther back things of like he moved from up in LaPorte, Michigan City. He didn't live there at the time that my uncle was murdered, that I think is my real father. I'm trying to find those answers out. I want my DNA tested to Dennis's too, not just his put into the system, because I want to know who my real father is. Because my mom was writing one of the brothers. I heard something about a letter. I don't know. It could have been a letter that was before I was born, but there was at some point she was writing a letter or took a letter from one of my dad's brothers. He had Kenny, Johnny, Terry, Bobby, Glenn, Timmy, and Jeffrey, and then Connie. But there's another whole 20 other kids that my grandfather had in Catania, Pennsylvania. They have things to do with railroad tracks. There's historical sites. I think what was happening is there's drugs involved. I think that he saw an opportunity that he's from around that area. I mean, he grew up 15 miles away in Elston, and then Coutston, Indiana, and then Delphi is right there. And then he supposedly took a horse named Spirit to Brookston, Indiana at the equestrian horse thing for autistic kids. My son's horse, Spirit, and I've had other people tell me about a Savannah. A Savannah got a hold of me and said months before the Delphi murders that her friend had told her after the fact, after the murders, that Dennis had approached her and asked her kind of like the Ted Bundy thing, can you help me put a kayak up on top of the roof as a vehicle? Just as a woman from Tennessee also said that she thinks that was Dennis too. She just can't tell, but she said it looks like him. And then another woman from Detroit told me from back in the 60s and 70s when he was up there doing his thing that there was a guy that looks a lot like who I put of the side by side of Dennis with the Ypsilanti murder. They didn't have good sketch artists, I guess, back then, but they got Picasso and stuff. I don't see why, but it's like I got the same coat that he's in, the blue coat, the scarf, and in the 4490 Pleasure Ridge Roadhouse, it's got the hat he wore, the second hat with the bill that's bent. That's a bent bill. It ain't. They did a whole show on Anthony Greeno. You can knock this out. I think he's a ho green giant. I don't like him. I used him for what he used me, but he's a fake. All of them are fake, and anybody that makes money off these two girls ticks me off because in the same tone that they're saying Abby and Libby or these other people's names, and I come on there politely and say, "Hey, this is my dad. This is my son. This is what I got." They block me. You can't see my text on the live chat or nothing. And it's like that. Then Gray Hughes, I go on there and I call in. And I was trying to tell him about my dad's phone. My dad posted on one of his Facebook pages or on his Facebook page that I seen right around February when I found this out that on the February the 15th, he posts, can you guys send me your contact information? My phone got wet. The battery got wet. Wonder why the fuck it got battery wet. Stupid. You didn't know that they had you on video. And plus, he
that
takes the body.
they still had the phones with them.
Oh yeah, they went somewhere else. I know for a fact there has to be because there's also a video of a news that zooms in at a trailer, a truck, a trailer, and a horse trailer on the end. For some reason, they show things just like through the news feed. You can see at the trail walk where they was going to go search. My son is there. If you can see him sitting there talking to some girl. And my son said, "Yeah, we was there. We did it. Who am I going to kill next?" And I'm like, "Got him." And then within a week or so, that's when Dennis went to the hospital, and then he died another week or two after that. And Dylan cut off his defriended me from Facebook. Maybe Dennis was like, "You stupid mother, why did you tell him that?" That's what I think.
Shawn, what do you think? What if you could prove this was your dad? What will you get out of that?
Well, the main thing I want to get is for the families. I mean, that's it. That's what bothers me is that he done seeing that video and him walk across that bridge and know what he's going to do afterwards was like, man, it's like your whole world is like, oh my God, now I know why my world was so bad. It wasn't in my head. This is why I was homeless. This is why my son was not with me. But what I'm going to get is not, I don't care about the reward. That was the fifth thing on my mind. The first thing is the families and finding out who my dad is second. Third is my son, and really second or third is my son. It's just my son's being a little bastard right now, and he needs to grow up, because he knows what happened and he's the only one that can tell what happened. And he is the second composite sketch. And the reason why in the anniversary when they switched it up and Doug Carter says, okay, you never thought that we would turn in this direction. What they was doing there was no one would come out and say, I guess, because I was homeless. If I would have known 4 years ago, I was homeless not too far from where Dennis was, and he could have come and got to me too. He knew where I slept, and I didn't even know that. And so it's like Dylan is right now the main suspect. And they was doing that to make Dylan say, "Hey, that ain't me. I didn't do it. That was Grandpa. Grandpa, are you going to let them do this to me?" They're psychologically screwing, and people are so. I don't like to call them ignorant, but you gotta know what you're messing with Dennis and with this kind of a serial killer. He's a serial killer. They talk about in a roundabout way about everything. I listen very closely to Doug Carter in any roadshow Delphi, any news, any updates, and they talk about me in comment. But they said this is not the platform to answer about Shawn Harmon. It's the only person they ain't talking about. Chadwell, they're just letting people. The only reason they do that every so often, I believe, is because they're trying to just put smoke out there to be like, okay, we don't think it's Dennis, just to throw, but now that he's gone, why ain't they at least saying, hey, we've named him? It don't take that long to do this. I mean, I
Yeah.
did it in May. I've had my DNA and ancestry in what, GED in May or June, early June. Yeah, right. Well, May, yeah, because mine was in May. I just got mine, and I said they need to get his because he's dead. And
Yeah.
so Indiana State Police Harper said, well, they was supposed to go down, and I've talked to him since then, and I said, did they go down and get it? And I'm not getting no answers. I'm not.
Okay, so
They said,
Shawn,
yeah.
let's just say they were able to get 100% match and it wasn't your father. Are you willing to say, okay, I made a mistake, or are you still going to believe that it was your father?
Well, uh, what the thing about it is the person on that bridge and that voice is my father.
Okay.
I have never said that he is the killer other than that Doug Carter and them says the man on the voice and the person that you hear is the one that killed the girls.
Yeah.
They've never said and then they've said it could be in between the both of them, Dylan and the composite and the first sketch and the second sketch. I've seen 3 sketches. There's another sketch that I've seen out there, and that's what makes me think that my other son is involved, unless somebody just blew
Okay.
up the original screen. But both of
Yeah.
my sons look very much alike, and my son from Colorado, I believe, they also went out there to maybe talk to Daniel Nations or throw it off to make it look like it. But I think they've talked to my youngest son. I think
Okay.
they know very much who Dennis is. It's just there's other people involved because why
Okay.
was the McCain's out there? Why did they direct it from a different distance? Why, if there was a fight underneath the bridge, that could have been Dennis yelling at the girls and the girls get down and whatever.
Yeah.
Why can't they just go show the photo of my dad and my son and say to the people that they got that's sitting in the car, the dog lady, the flannel shirt guy, the Ron Logan, Anthony Greeno, I heard was out there too. One Anthony Greeno or Gray Hughes knows Dennis from what I've heard. Dennis frequents up there. He knows people. Linda Weldy's house now is a VFW, like I said. Abby Williams lived somewhere down there, I guess, close to the trail, or to Ron Logan's down there. Does she live close to down by there where they could cook dope? Maybe they want the property. Maybe it was partly dope. Maybe it was that somebody also snitched, and it was a perfect time to throw them off. I
Okay.
believe that whenever he got them down over the hill, one of the girls said, fuck this, I'm running and let's go, Abby. And they take off. He grabs one of them. He has to go into the water after him. He walks them across. His phone gets wet. He uses one of their phones, or they won't let him use the phone. So they're driving around trying to, but I believe he went somewhere else, killed him to abandoned CPS building, is where I believe. I don't know. I don't know if it
Okay.
was CBS building, but if they drove around town, then maybe they went somewhere else and he threw it
So you
off to
don't
make
think
it.
they were just killed right then and
No,
there?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't think so. I mean, but I don't know because they don't give out a whole lot of
Yeah.
information on that. Now, what I've heard
Because
about,
is it the reason why you think that is because they searched and there was nothing there and then all of a sudden they're there? Is that why you
There's a
think?
couple different avenues on that. There's the avenue of I've heard the phone pinging all over town. You know, maybe he took them out to do stuff or have somebody ride around with the phone. Maybe they left the phone in the vehicle and they killed and then or they had the phone and then maybe he killed the girls and then
Are you
was like,
talking about his phone or the girl's phone?
the girls' phone. Now I thought
Oh,
both girls had a phone, but they only found one of them. Is
okay.
that
And it
true?
did show that it was pinging all over. I didn't hear that part.
I've heard that
Okay.
they've talked about it. You know,
Okay.
that the phone had pinged and then it got shut off at some point. But at about 5 or so o'clock, it got shut off. They said the Germans and stuff, Patty Maynard, and I guess you know uh, there was something to do with drugs and someone snitching. You know, whoever that was, I think the father or something, or one of the girls or somebody. You know, just like the Evansdale, they was killed about drugs, and they thought, you know, that one of the uncles, because he was, I guess he's doing 90 years in prison for drugs because he eventually got in trouble for it. But you know, I guess you know somebody snitched in Delphi. They sure did get rid of the fire chief because of the flora. My father used to burn cars. He came and got me the time that the Swain Robinson in Richmond, the old historical foundry, got caught on fire. I don't know if he works for the cities or for some organization that just wants to do this for the greater good of the community to bring money for the historical trails and maybe the fast speed railway from New York to California to Michigan on down to Florida. I believe that there's that connection too. I believe there's more things that are involved here than what people will ever know because FBI is probably looking at other people if there's other people involved. I believe though if the girls were killed there, he knew that he had gotten caught on phone. He had the phone, was going around trying to get it unlocked, or had the girls and telling them to unlock this motherfucker right now, or I'm sure you'll block that out. I'd leave it for content, but that they was if they was truly found, the way I heard is that someone said that there was a letter K that was carved either into one of the girls' chest or the tree. And this is somebody that says they're close to the family that I think lived in Ohio, if I remember right. I don't know who it is, but they asked just the right questions. And I don't talk to too many people about certain things. I know I put everything out there, but I do that so you guys know the truth and there aren't no lies. And if they are covering it up, or if Dennis was going to kill Dylan after I found out and came out about it, or if he was going to go killing someone else, or even try to downgrade me and make me look like he tried to do, but people shut him down. It was like, why ain't he admitting he didn't do it? Why did he die on the 13th? Evansdale on the 13th, you know, 7/13/2012, reverse that number 2/13/2017 to Delphi, number 32, you know.
That's funny. You're like me. I have a thing with numbers, and I think there's a lot of really weird coincidences.
There's a lot
Which
of weird
also,
stuff out there.
yeah. So I think what happens with you, and I think you're just trying to get your voice heard, but because of the way you're going about it, it's actually maybe freaking people out, or they're not taking you seriously because of it. But I know that you're passionate, and that's why you're doing it.
Well, the
And
right
I
people
also,
that, oh,
yeah,
sorry.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
The right people that need to know is all I care about, really.
Yeah.
I do these shows for your pleasure and your pain half the time because I don't care what anybody other than the police think. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that to you. I'm not saying that to anybody. I'm saying I don't care what anybody thinks about me or how I come about doing it because I had to do it the way I had to do it. If people, whenever they find out who my father is and what he did and the things that he's done.
You know, the
Okay.
funny thing is, Shawn, I think because because of your history of being an ex-addict and being homeless and all these things, I think people are trying to discredit you. And I think
That's
because
where
of
the
the
most credit would come from, I think.
right,
I
I
would
know, and
wonder
it's
why
weird.
someone's homeless, you know?
Right. Okay, exactly my point. Like, I think what happened is when you were really young, you were traumatized, obviously. And then when you saw that picture of that guy, it brought all this emotion back to you because
Oh
you
yeah.
recognized him. And so that's what I got earlier when I was talking to you. And even though you may not have the education behind you, I think you're very intelligent. I think you're very uh oh God, what's the right word? Where you have really good instincts when it comes to certain things.
And
I
insight.
also insight
Intuitive.
and yeah, intuitive. That's the exact word I was thinking of. But I
You
wouldn't.
have to
I mean, I
be.
don't know you well, but I don't think to me you don't seem like a manipulative type of person.
Or
Maybe you
no.
had been maybe in the past, but I don't. You don't come across that way to me at all. And I think we're all probably a little narcissistic when they were telling you that's what you were. I think we all are a little bit, but I think you we just
Like
need to
Tom
present
Spivey
it in a
said,
way where people will listen is what I'm
that's why
trying
my
to.
YouTube videos
Yeah.
that I put out talking about all the evidence that I have and about my thoughts about Dennis and his past. That's why on YouTube, I'm plugging my phone in. It's going to die if I don't. Um, I have tons of posts on YouTube, like over 80 or so, of where I talk about the case, talk about my childhood, talk about places he's been, things he's done, people that will be worth looking at into, and my, um, some of the things that people like. There's one video of me saying, "Help, I'm in the basement. Somebody please come give me a light. I got a cigarette, but I ain't got a light. I'm down in the basement. I'm hogtied." And Kelsey German and all, and it was her that made the video. And I've been in touch with Becky Maynard Patty. I've contacted her and text her. She won't tell me nothing, which I understand that, but I wanted her to know why I was doing this. And that the $325,000, I don't give a shit about. I don't care about that money. You can make a statue of the two girls looking back and waving. It touches me of what I want to do. I've already talked to people about doing books and doing, other things, and if I ever have benefit or something, I'd have certain people involved. I've contacted Kim Kardashian. I wrote her this week. I've done a lot of things that people don't know. I've done 72 hours of nonstop. I'm not allowed to text right now on Facebook or Messenger. I've either over text or over posted because I'm doing this 24/7. I'm not on here to get back at my son and dad, because of a bad childhood. I'm doing it because of the two girls. And whenever I see their family's face, and I hate thinking about it because it's my family, and who am I to sit here and say I care about them girls because, I don't want to get into
Hey,
it.
Shawn, let me
Anyway,
explain
yeah,
something to you
okay.
really quick.
Stop.
So I
I'll
have
stop
this
crying.
funny thing about I like numbers, right? Like I always look for connections with numbers and all of this stuff. And I always try to add everything up to the number 8 because I love the number 8. And I'm like, oh, if it's like a 3, it's okay because it's an 8 cut in half and there's a 3, right? So when I start talking like this, it makes so much sense to me. But then when other people hear me, they're just like, oh my gosh, she's
You're
crazy,
cuckoo.
whatever. Right. And then when other people do it, they start talking about their weird numbers. And I look at them going, oh my God, is that the way I sound? Now, Nancy, tell me if you agree with this. When he posts all of these things and he's so out there and in people's faces, it almost takes that the importance of it out because he doesn't seem credible. Does that make sense to either one
Well,
of you?
Nancy,
it it it's okay. Shawn, first of all, is this okay for me to answer and talk?
yeah.
Okay. Well, this is your thing. So
I know.
here's
But you're
the
a
thing
friend of
about
ours, and
Shawn.
I want to hear what you have to say. I think it's important.
Okay. Here's the thing about Shawn. from the very moment that he came to me to tell me, this is my dad, this story has not changed. Nothing has changed. He has worked tirelessly to try to have somebody listen and to prove this, or to at least listen to him and give him some sort of
Stage.
affirmations. He's not in this for anything but, just like he said, for these girls and these families. He's worked so hard for this, and this is all he thinks about. He is completely credible. He is perfectly one of the best people I've ever met. And I mean, I wouldn't have brought him into my home had I not made friends with a man I thought was a really good person. There's a light in him. He's a great guy. And we've been friends a long time now. One of the most honest people you're going to meet. Sometimes you might not want to listen to what he's got to say, but he truly is. So his credibility, the way I see it, and we've talked about this before, why is it that a homeless person or an addict can't be credible? I
totally agree with you with that.
I mean, like, you could be bad.
Yes.
You could be batshit crazy, but you're going to know your father and his voice.
Yeah,
you're going to know these things.
I agree with you. Yes.
I used to go to school and tell people that's my dad. Now it's like, now I find this out and I'm like, the man I used to admire, after a while, that was up until about 6 years old when I started getting smart about stuff and not wanting to be touched and stuff. At 10 years old by my sister, I was the one that stopped things because, I was smart enough to know. I was molested by a teacher at 13 in Richmond, Indiana. Dennis hunched me one time whenever I was 14. I think he come home drunk because he was an alcoholic in them days. I don't know if he still was when he died. Thank God I found out, in February that he done this before he passed, and the families may never have known. But I like I was getting at, I don't care about nobody other than the police. The police know it's him. I've talked to the police. I've talked to them. I got answers about certain things. They don't get time to really answer any of the questions because I don't ask too much, and I probably should. You guys just want to block the truth. You don't want the truth. You say you want the truth, you're going to make money off of it, and it pisses me off because you're saying these girls' names, and they aren't even my kids, and I'm giving it my kid and to the police and saying this is my son. Not because I hate my son. I love my son to death, and I fought to get my son, and my dad had the welfare lady Covalence that was the main person that got me from my mom and then came back into the picture whenever he was in Florida. In the 80s, whenever we lived down there, and my stepsister was molested, and they blamed it on the other grandfather that molested his wife, Dennis's wife, Shirley, his third wife. Sorry. And it's like, he had this welfare lady that got him out of stuff in another state. She lived in Indiana. Why in Florida are they calling the welfare department up there and him getting out of shit? I'm like, my credibility on the drugs and stuff, I'm honest about even being on heroin, and I started drinking at the age of 3 or 4, and I remember the trailer being caught on fire at 3, and could he have set that on fire? Like I said, I mean, there's a lot of questions and unanswered questions that I have and that other people have and other families, and it kills me to even see these podcasts or any HLN of Becky, Patty, and Ann Williams and Carrie Timmons, and then I've seen the grandfather this week crying and saying that, sorry, I'm trying to not cry, about watching Andy Griffith's show. Sorry. And then the Linda Weldy girl, her family said she liked More Community, some of my favorite shows, and so my passion is a lot more, and that's why whenever I come off with people, the people that truly need to know, and the people that are following me, I have almost 4,000 followers, on my Facebook, so I know my story's out there. I know I'm being heard. I know that the police know it's him. You said about something asked about if it isn't him. Well, if it isn't him, then they lied on their news press conference saying that, the time they said, we know this is about power to you. Do you have a little bit of decency or a little bit of, what is that? We think you have just a little bit of compassion or sympathy or something like that. And that was saying, I think, are you going to let your son be the main suspect and let him go down now and be, whenever they came out with a different sketch, to throw that wasn't for everybody to see, just like the year anniversary. I'm sorry if I'm going off. If you want me to stop, I will.
It's okay.
But the year anniversary, when I seen that, that's whenever it really hit home about, him, whenever he does that year anniversary out there, and they do it out there along the trail where they had walked. I don't know if I've ever been there to the Monon as a young kid. Never been there as an adult. If I was there as a kid, I don't know, but I'm afraid of fucking heights. So we don't know if one of the girls was thrown off the bridge. I think there's two different phones of the pictures. I think there's two different phones because of the pixels. The picture of Abby walking across, I zoom in and I see dirt on her face. How do we know she wasn't posed? How do we know anything really? But I can only go on my certain speculations on every area. If you look at, okay, there's other people out there. This is an organized hit, like I said, where it's done because of the drugs. It's done because they need money for the Monon to refix it, bring money to the city because a historical site for railroad, for trail, for to go out on the bridge, bring money for tourism, bring money to the town, revenue, bring more people to move to the city of Delphi. Hey, everything is possible, right?
Yeah.
So we don't know what happened after that bridge. We don't know, and we can only speculate. And I can go on. I know how he thinks, and that's why whenever I come out and I am so adamant about things, and I'm like, hey, don't you come on here and try to dilute anything I say because of anything and try to discredit me or go against my knowledge of what I know and try to make me look stupid or something. It ticks me off because people all the time are like, why would you do that to your son? Well, why wouldn't you?
Are you worried at all for somebody coming after you if you keep
No,
keep this up at all?
no. I mean, the only thing I want from the cops is because they said, we can protect you, and I was going to get into their press releases and their year anniversary. He puts his hand down and he's like, he's trying to shake out of his head, but he's also well knowledged and well coerced or versed too, into saying what he's going to say at them press releases. He says it for the right person. They don't say something for no reason. He knows what he's saying. He watches how he says it. He does certain things for the family too. It's a little showboating, but hey, he's trying to get into the head of a killer. The only person that knows the head of that killer better than the killer himself and what the law enforcement say they know, which I think they know a lot more about him because of the signatures and the things done at the crime scene, that he's posed the bodies, he's carved something, a K, whether that means Kingston family, Katanning, Kenny Harmon, Katie, whoever the K means, Katanning, Pennsylvania, where my family grew up, Kokomo gang, something else to throw them off. I don't know, and I hear Doug Carter say, we know this is about power. Yeah, he is. And how does he know that? Because of probably what's on that video. I believe there's more on that video that we don't want to know. And I get so pissed because people say, well, they need to release more. They need to release more. No, they don't. They don't need to release anything except to the one person in that one puzzle piece, and that's me. And whenever he was talking at that conference and says, there's somebody out there that knows who this is. Somebody from the neck down, you would know by their walk, by their mannerism, by their voice. Somebody knows. Nobody would say anything. I don't even know if people put it together because he moved, because anybody that knows him should have been known, but until the people that I know that says, hey, I remember that. Now oh my God, and I got text from people. I'm not going to put them out there because I'm not going to do that to her. I put one or two out of other people that's talked to Dennis. Nancy said that she talked to him, and that's when she felt the coldness of him, and she didn't understand why my mom and them just left me, with this man, and she wants to ask her why and all this. And I got questions and stuff I want to give to my son, and I got questions from my family and my mom. I don't really give a shit about the Harmon side because they're all a bunch of pieces of shits anyway. They're the ones that caused this. They're the ones that Connie Harmon, my dad would go up there, I heard, to see, and someone told me about him going up there to visit her, and he'd go by Delphi. Who this person is, I don't remember who it is. And then Dylan has kids that I don't even know are a kid, and I'm not named on one of the obituaries, but I don't give a shit. I don't care about that. I expected that at the time, but I went and seen him. He is dead. I hope he was dead. I didn't touch him. I just looked at him, went like, thank God, walked out. Seen Belinda, his fifth wife's mom. I said, tell Belinda I'm sorry for everything, and I think they know what it is. And, I talked to Dylan, a couple months before that on video chat. He looked like he was swelled up in the face, like someone had beat him in the face. I don't know if Dennis beat him. I know Dennis forced him to do something that he didn't want to do, because if Dennis was doing this prior, we know who the main culprit and enforcer is of whatever. And that's what they call the person in the Kingston family, the order on the polygamist on Lifetime channel, Escaping Polygamy. I think it's in its fourth season. I haven't even hardly watched, but they talk about, being a white race. We are direct descendants of Jesus Christ bloodline. That's what they believe. They believe this, and my family goes back very far with Masons and in other countries, and so the Harmon, we have, ties with certain people in military. My dad was in military. I have elders in the family, generations before, that were military. Rockney Harmon dealt with the Delphi case. Why is there a Harmon involved in the case in the beginning? Rockney P. Harmon. He worked on the Golden State Killer, the OJ case, and many others in linking DNA. What is that DNA? What does Rockney do? Linking the DNA, familiar DNA. And Indiana, I guess, don't do familiar DNA. I wasn't cutting you off like in the video. See, if you go to YouTube, Dennis Ross Harmon, you'll see and hear his voice. Sounds just like Delphi.
Okay.
So,
well, listen, I'm going to have to wrap up here shortly. I do want to keep your number in case that we can connect again. We are not doing this to make money. We do it. At first, we did it because we were bored at home with COVID, and we love true crime. And that's how it kind of started. And then we are focused on some local cases here that we feel like we could help try to solve. And then I saw your message on ours. I was like, okay, let's go with this. Let's see where it takes us.
I went anywhere I could.
Yeah. And I know, and we're ready. I'm here to listen to you. I mean, I think you've got some very valid points. Were you talking about this before or after he died? Did you find out before or after?
I've been talking about it since day one on Facebook.
Okay, but day one of
February
what year? Of which
February
year?
3rd of this year.
Okay.
About 6 months ago, 7 months ago.
Okay. So and then he died in May. So I'd be curious of what that was all about. So
Yeah, I came
and
out before this. Like I
okay.
said, I called him, and then I posted every day after that, and called law enforcement and emailed everyone, from news stations, and they was told not to do any shows about me. So why they was told that, they're trying to do a media lockdown months before they even did a Delphi blackout on media last week or the week before, I guess.
I just want to say I really appreciate the fact that you brought up about credibility because because so many people have discounted him, and I for reasons that don't even make sense to me. And so for you, as far as I know, you're one of the first ones that have even brought up that credibility issue and have given at least some substance to his being homeless and the addiction problems. They don't matter in something like this.
Well, and I agree. We've done a few cases in the past where the girls have been addicts, and it doesn't matter. They are still somebody's sister, somebody's, daughter, or, it doesn't matter to us. That happens. But I do believe that I feel, and I know that you believe this too. I believe that he believes that his father is this person. And I think getting the story out and getting it told in the way that people will listen, I think if we can help him in that sort, we will. And I think he's very passionate about this, and I think he just wants to be heard. And I think by being heard, the way he's doing it actually makes him sound a little like cuckoo. But with that said, I believe that he believes it, and so I'm not judging him. I can't judge anybody. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to tell the story, and I want to help him do that. So
yes. I just wanted to say thank you. I really didn't want this on here, but I just wanted to personally thank you because, like I said, you're one of the first ones that that's even broached that subject that I've heard. Yeah, and for Shawn, I feel like it's really important that somebody recognize him as a person who is credible in this regard.
I can be serious at some time.
He can be serious at some time. He's really.
It's just I got to offset, because there's Wilfred Wong. If you go and look at that YouTube of him talking about Satanism, that's basically what I went is SRA, is satanic ritual abuse, and what a person like that has to go through. And they offset things with joking or acting out or doing things, because that's how I had to live through his house.
That's how you cope.
I mean, you got to cope somehow. And so it makes you feel like you're crazy. And I still feel crazy at times because I'm like, why ain't something being done? And it drives me batshit crazy.
But Shawn, you were just a product of your childhood. Your foundation was not built on a steady ground. And so no wonder, like, if your father was this terrible person, no wonder you went through what you did until you are right where you are right now, which makes more sense of why he could be a killer. Like, he could be a serial killer. Like, let's just get the story out and let me help you. And I'll be in contact with you. And if I have questions along the way, I'm going to definitely reach out to you. But I will be posting this tomorrow, and I will send you a link. So I want to thank you and Nancy. You're welcome. All right, Shawn, you have a good night, okay? All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Let today be the day.
All right. Yes. Bye-bye.